Lave radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
Testing 1 2 1 2.
The Federal Navy. We want you for Adventures Unlimited.
Just last week I was mixing Sidewinder slammers at a seedy space bar. I wasn't even pilot registered. And now I have a ship and a basic starting mission for the Federal Navy.
Owing to recent actions in the Lave region, the Federal Navy now seeks to recruit another 1,000 entry-level pilots. We need you to add your strength to our military machine.
I'm going to see the galaxy.
We have missions for all pilots, regardless of combat experience or flight hours. Come and talk to us and we'll get you on the military ladder. Join the Federal Navy. Make a real pilot of yourself, or die trying.
Wait, what's that? Is that a ship coming? Are they looking for me? What do they?
Lave Radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
Galnet News Digest, 3rd of June 3307. We read the news so you don't have to.
In this week's news, Mahan makes a suspicious starport.
Store or exchange?
It's the little things.
The identical engineers. Alliance Prime Minister Edmund Mahon has been accused of stealing cargo intended for the repair of damaged stations, following the announcement today that he'd build 2 starports despite only getting enough support to build 1. The Alliance Tritium mining initiative this week received relatively poor support, with only 1 tier completed. This should have meant the intended construction of 5 starports being scaled back to only 1 in LHS 2522. Yet, somehow, the Prime Minister has managed to announce the construction of 2 starports by the 25th, the other being in Sharrow Sector FW-W C1-19. Where did he manage to find the materials for this second starport? And on the same day that the Prime Minister's appeal started, on Thursday last week, all the materials intended to repair the Thargoid-damaged starport at Artemis Lodge vanished, and remains unaccounted for. Is this a coincidence? Or is the new Alliance station in the Sharrow sector built using stolen goods?
Commanders have been expressing their admiration for the new shipyard and outfitting interfaces that allow all the clutter of painstakingly engineered modules and ships to be cleared away with a single click of a button. It takes utter genius to create a system that allows you to dispose of your favourite ship without ever mentioning the word sell until it's too late, and therefore allows the Pilots Federation to build up a huge stock of once cherished engineered modules and ships that they can sell on Galbay. The Pilots Federation's reacted to the entirely unjustified criticism of the outfitting user interface by posing the question, well, how would you do it then? They may be surprised by the number and variety of answers they get.
A second round of improvements has been made for people with the Odyssey Walking About permit. Lots and lots of changes have been made to the system map and galaxy map, including the ability to view organic data. Routes can now be plotted using neutron boosts, something commanders without the Odyssey permit have been able to do for years. Apex taxis can no longer be taken to places you can't get off. You can now restock your backpack without having to board your ship. These are all valuable improvements, but it's the attention to the little details that really counts. Apex Interstellar taxi drivers have been instructed to say goodbye and let you off without a long, meaningful moment of mutual contemplation between passenger and driver. An emergency stairwell has been added to the landing pad at engineer bases, so you can always get out if you do something silly. And the mysterious black cube, believed to be the black hole he keeps in a shoebox to frighten his workers, has been removed from Zachariah Nemo, and he's been referred to an employment tribunal for his unfair working practices.
The identical engineers. The Pilots Federation has strenuously denied that the personal equipment engineers are all the same person, and they have released images that they claim conclusively show that the engineers are not only separate individuals, but they exhibit a set of quirky and engaging characteristics that make them fun to interact with. This is what the engineers looked like last week, and this is what they look like now.
If you're listening to the podcast version of this article, please imagine a row of 5 identical faces, and then imagine a row of faces all different.
There are 9 engineers capable of modifying personal equipment, including Domino Green, who is also a drug dealer, and who you get to meet by travelling 100 light years in an Apex Interstellar taxi. Jude Navarro, who won't speak to you unless you've done enough restore and reactivation missions, and who is rather fond of collecting genetic repair medicines. Kit Fowler, who likes people who sell opinion polls to bartenders. Una Laszlo, who really hates the Sirius Corporation and won't speak to you unless you're unfriendly with them. Wellington Beck, who is all about entertainment media, and Yarden Bond, who is interested in smear campaigns. And you can go and visit these engineers if you want a harder way to get engineered equipment than the zen-like process of taking Apex taxis around all the outposts of a Thursday morning.
And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News, we read the news so you don't have to.
What about WeBuyAnyModule.com? Or there's the popular Nick Lambert's Ship Shop.
The Lave Radio Project was our last best hope for news. A self-contained podcast 2 hours long, located in neutral territory. A place of nonsense and innuendo for forum dads, community members and developers. A shining beacon in space, all alone on a Tuesday night. It was the dawn of the 3rd chapter of Elite. The year's space legs came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Lavian stations. The year is 3307. The name of the place? Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 345 of Lave Radio, the show that talks about the universe of Elite and the fantabulous community that surrounds it. I'm your host, sort of. I'm your emergency backup inflatable host, Ben Mosswood-Ward, otherwise known as Commander Edelweiss. And joining me in the Orange Sidewinder bar, we have Commander Shan.
Hello.
We have the always beautiful Commander Psychic.
No, you.
And we have a Commander Phoenix of Fire who will hopefully be showing up after he's dealt with a minor fire issue. We are also we've had a sneaky imposter sneak in with us. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm assuming that's my cue for intro. Hello, it's Arthur, Captain Beard on Twitter. I am the Frontier Community Manager for Elite Dangerous.
So, I think we'll start out very quickly with what we've been up to, and I'm gonna start this with you, Arth. What have you been up to this week?
Not much, not a lot.
Not much.
Hardly done anything. No, it's been very quiet for me. I think we all know what I've been up to. So obviously I did the show today, which is catching up pretty much after last week's sort of announcements. And we're prepping for the next update, which is on Thursday this week, Thursday morning. So that's the overview of what I'm up to. Obviously, there's other bits and bobs I'm doing. There's some of it's quite boring, but it is work that must be done. But I'm sure you'll have questions for me, so I will allow thumb screws to be applied.
So, what about yourself, Shan? How you been up to?
I have been in real life. I have not been doing very much at all, but the youngest mini Shan is off to help guard the G7 tomorrow. So
Okay.
I've promised him extra pocket money if he shoots a world leader. I'm joking, everyone listening. And so he's been doing that. In game, I've been actually playing No Man's Sky because there was this new update, this Prism update that looked very colourful and pretty. So I thought I'd check it out actually, and been quite impressed really because usually one thing that put me off No Man's Sky was it wasn't real, it was all cartoony and stuff like that. But yeah, I quite got into the multicolour triptastic that is No Man's Sky.
And how's your week been, Psychic?
I've been so ill. I've been
I know,
so
what's
ill.
wrong?
I
It's
had
not your COVID jab, is it?
yeah, I had the COVID jab, and then I had a really long sleep and no fluids, and then reaped the benefits of suddenly having a lot of fluids and not be. I was an idiot basically. I had all the symptoms of a hangover without having the drink, which was great, excellent. But
Which one did you have? Psykit.
AstraZeneca.
Yeah, it's a killer, right? I don't mean that in a horrible way, but it's absolutely knocks you on your rear end.
I mean, I'd much rather not have the alternative, but the second one, everyone said, "Oh, you'll be fine with the second one." Like all of my family, "Oh, it'll be nothing, it'll be fine," and I was like dead for 5 days.
Oh
It was
no, I've only
not
had
fun
one of
at
those. I
all.
was kind of hoping the second one would be okay.
I'm sorry.
Apparently, the secret for reducing COVID jab symptoms is to take vitamin D supplements a few days before, because that boosts the immune system, so it doesn't actually have the reaction, but you still get the benefit of the jab. So I followed that advice, and first one was a little bit sleepy. Second one, no problem at all. So yeah, vitamin D apparently is the way to do it. Taking paracetamol is okay, but that does reduce the immune response, which makes the vaccine a little bit less effective. So only take paracetamol if you're really dead.
Also, just like a really nice bit of advice, just make sure that you are well hydrated, especially when it's as hot as it is.
Hydration is
that would have
indeed your
helped.
friend.
Yeah, that would have really helped.
While we're talking about the AstraZeneca virus, or AstraZeneca virus, AstraZeneca
You
injection.
anti-vaxxer, you.
I had my AZ vaccine on Thursday, and I've heard slightly different things from Shan, because I heard people like, if it gets you the first time, you'll be okay the second time, but then if you're fine the first time, expect a rough time the second time. So who knows about that?
There's so many old wives' tales with that. It's
There
like, oh,
really are, aren't there?
it's like, oh, if you had COVID, the vaccine will get you worse than what if you haven't had vaccine, etc. So yeah.
I'm guessing you've had. Go on.
Sorry, I've seen someone in chat that's got the right idea that said they had San Miguel to hydrate, and I'm like, that sounds like a very good idea. I will follow that advice next time.
That's the opposite of a good idea.
If I'm going to get a hangover, I'm going to have the drink, all right?
But I'm guessing you've had your first one, but not your second.
I've had my first, yeah, and I was fine for exactly 9 hours, and as my head hit the pillow on the stroke of midnight, I had every symptom you could possibly ask for. So it was fantastic.
God. So yeah, as well as having my second COVID jab, I've hopefully sold my house today, although I haven't received any confirmation that I've sold it yet, and it's getting a little bit late in the evening. So, I've sent emails and I've sent phone calls saying, "What's happened, guys?" and I've heard nothing back. But I'm going to take it as no news is good news and try not to panic. Game stuff wise, I've been playing loads of Elite till about 3 in the morning with my brother-in-law, where basically we were doing some sneaky stealing stuff down in the missions, and then we wound up just losing ourselves playing Frontline. And we just had a blast literally doing that. I've also been playing some Star Citizen, some Cloudpunk, some RimWorld, and not some No Man's Sky this week. Oh, and some Minecraft. So playing loads of things. Anyway, Colin, I believe you've managed to deal with your minor fire escalations.
Yeah, well, it's one of those horrible moments. You're just about to go on air, and then all of a sudden says, "Do you know your son's dinner's burning?" And yeah, I do apologise for that.
Welcome back, Colin. It's lovely to have you here. How's your week been, buddy?
Well, let's see. Lots of Elite, as usual. A little bit of Final Fantasy 15, and yeah, I went to meet some alpacas. It's a bizarre thing that you do. You go to Halifax and you meet alpacas. Shan?
Were they like on an alpaca farm, or were they like running wild over the hills?
Yeah, the dales round Halifax aren't renowned for their wild alpaca herds, but yes, they were on a farm.
So why did you go? So I'm curious now. So why did you go to an alpaca farm? Because Halifax, if I remember rightly, is a reasonable distance away from where you are. So what was so attractive about an alpaca farm? Did you go to shear them or milk them or what?
No, they're just the family wanted to see some alpacas. It's just one of those things that happens in the Ford family, and they suddenly say, you know what, today I would like I would like to go and see some alpacas. As you do.
Hopefully, if the 21st goes ahead, the alpacas will be more publicly available, so more people can go and see them.
Yep, and yes, that's pretty much it. And
Can you explain to me actually how are alpacas different from llamas?
good grief,
They've got a different name.
It's funny that you should mention that. I have their sheet right here, a sheet provided by the West Yorkshire Alpacas Experience. And they're basically different from llamas because they've got this massive, what looks like Donald Trump wig on the top of their head.
Oh.
And they're slightly actually bigger and furrier.
They look very fluffy.
They are very fluffy, and they are very soft furs as well. And yes, they're very nice to humans, but not nice to each other.
So, what do they shear them? Like alpaca wool? Do they eat them, or what?
No,
what do they do with-
alpaca wool. Believe this or not, I've suddenly become an expert in alpacas. But alpaca wool is sought after for both clothing and for stuffing in your settee because it is both waterproof and flameproof.
Wow.
Yes.
How do they test it?
Hang on.
Flameproof? They kind of set light to one and see what happens.
Jan,
You're
you were
not-
saying Arth.
No, I was just curious. I'm just amazed that alpacas are fire retardant, which I think is an incredible defense mechanism.
Oh.
I'm not sure why they'd need it in nature, but it's a
It's in
fantastic
case
thing to have.
dragons.
Yeah, yeah,
well-
fire retardant alpacas. I mean, I'll never say a bad word about them again.
Well, all I can think of is there must be a lot of thunderstorms and lightning strikes up in the Andes.
Apparently, Mrs. Jonathan Teatime also spins alpaca wool.
There you go.
The more you know, eh?
Yes. Yeah, and apparently the wool is very profitable. It goes for an absolute fortune. I suppose if it's fire retardant and water retardant, then yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
Is there nothing it can't do?
well, yeah, Shan, go on then.
Well, I was about to say that little story reminds me of some friends of ours, of Mrs. Shan in particular. They own a pig rescue in just past the north of the border. So apparently, if pigs need rescuing, they're abandoned pigs, and they kind of like take them to the pig rescue and make them unabandoned pigs.
So they don't turn them into bacon.
No. They're very passionate about not having abandoned pigs killed for bacon. But they rescue them and they breed them and they give them happy fields to trot around in and stuff like that.
And welcome to Lave Radio Farming Weekly.
You are.
Psyche, have you managed to collect yourself?
I'm all right. I just want to say like a big heartfelt thank you to Arth for like taking his time out of his evening to come and listen to us talk about alpacas. So thanks, mate.
Oh no, you're welcome. I mean, this is more than enlightening. I've learnt more in the last 10 minutes than I have. School's overrated. Just come and listen to the show for a little while. You'll learn all the relevant information you'll need for life.
Yeah, I know Lave's an agricultural station, but I didn't really believe it. None of this. Psychit, what have you been up to this week? And please don't mention any llamas or alpacas and things.
We already covered that while you were getting
Yeah,
getting
we're
your
done. We're done. We're done
burnt
with that.
stuff.
Oh,
sorted.
was I the last one?
You were the
You
last
were the
one,
last
mate.
person.
Oh, I was the last one. Well, I do apologize yet again. So, yeah. If only my son's meal had been made out of fire retardant.
You got it before me.
Yeah, it should have been alpaca.
Yeah.
Wool.
Yes. Very edible. Yeah, no. And yes, again, the Lave Radio train town to tangent off goes. Right. So we've got to say hello to Arf for his taking the extra time out, especially after the stream today. So, Arf, since we've got hold of you for a little while, we have a list of queries following the difficult times that you've had with Odyssey in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, challenging times. How's that?
I think difficult is fair to say. I think in the spirit of being honest, I think I'm not going to sit here and say it's been a sunny day at the beach for us. It's quite the opposite. But yes, it's been a difficult and challenging few weeks.
I mean, on that subject, I mean, we really feel for the amount of work that the developers and the CMs and everybody else is going through at the moment. I mean, can you share with us the general mood that everybody's in?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the best way to explain it is determined. I think is probably the best word to describe. Certainly my team and certainly the development team. It's not how we wanted it to go by a country mile, to keep with the theme. So we're determined to make it right, and we're determined to win back the community's trust in us. So it's a long road, and it's one of those things. I think I said it on the stream today. We can talk a lot about it, and I can say what I intend to do. And I think people that have dealt with me will know that I'm pretty much a man of my word. If I say something, I'll do it. But I'm also conscious of the fact that people haven't had that experience in the past. So it's a case of I'm fully prepared to take it on the chin until they see the changes. So I think defiant is the right word, and eager to get it right.
Well, there we go. That's that one off the list. Yeah, one thing that I think everybody is curious about is the process of taking feedback from the forums and the alpha. How is it decided on what's acted on and what ends up in the game? Is it a Kanban process or?
No, so it's a difficult question to answer this one because it's very multifaceted. And I'll take the alpha for an example. So with the alpha, believe it or not, we actually did a daily report, which was an awful lot of work from the team, and supplied that through to dev to say, like, this is what they like, this is what they don't like, this is the things that are causing us an issue, these are the burning fires. As an example, the genetic sampling tool, when that went out, it was not a favorite, and so that's one way of taking feedback around the alpha. In terms of other things, the dev team will be like, look, we know this isn't working as intended, or we'll pass on the feedback and say, look, players aren't happy with UI, they're not happy to changes with Galaxy Map, they don't like the balance of X, Y, or Z, and they'll be like, okay, can you give us some more specific information? So what we try and do then is you'll see us put out like a focus post and be like, we've done it a few times actually pre-Odyssey as well. It's one of the things I was keen on, and we'll be like, look, we're going to be looking at this thing specifically. Can you just give us some sort of useful feedback? And when I say that, I don't mean like I'm not criticizing people that give feedback. What I'm saying is sometimes feedback can be very emotional and they kind of miss the point, and they'll just say, look, this is rubbish, it doesn't work. And I was like, cool, I get this is frustrating for you, but I need to understand why it's not working for you. What is the thing that's causing the sticking point? Is it an extra button's been added in? Does it not? Do you not like the click and hold? Whatever it's going to be. So we just asked to sort of have that secondary moment of like a forum post, I guess, and just say, can you be really specific about what you're doing? And some players, and I appreciate some players find that frustrating because it's not always the thing they want to be giving feedback on at that moment in time. So we'll put a forum post out and then they'll say, well, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, we have to work through this methodically, and we have to go through this in a certain aspect. Nothing's being ignored. We are actually sort of taking everything on board and stuff like that. But it's sometimes things we fix in a certain order because, as an example, UI I know is a huge thing for the moment of Odyssey. And I know outfitting is probably the biggest one of all of it. But it's a bigger change and lots more changes going in. So that feedback is constantly coming in and they're working out at the moment. Other stuff that they know is going to create just a little bit of extra, I was going to say nuance. Nuance is the wrong word. Make life a little bit easier on that road up to update 5. Then they're like, we'll change that now because we can change that now because we know this is a pain in the arse thing, or it isn't working as we want it to work. And it is quite frustrating because at the moment there was a lot of stuff that just went wrong when we merged the two products together. And it was things that just, and I said on the show today, we're generally blindsided by that things just went literally could put in the biggest way in many different ways all at once, like a firework going off, and everyone's just like, well, that definitely is not what was supposed to happen when we press that button. And now it's just a case of we have genuine issues which players are like, this is rubbish, it doesn't work for us, it's frustrating, and we listen. And then on the flip side of that, we're like, this isn't working because there's generally a bug in here that is making it not work. So we need to fix that first and then see if it's still causing players an issue. So that's kind of like how feedback works. It's a very difficult one to answer in terms of like, is there one easy way to do it? Obviously, we look at the issue tracker, particularly at the moment because people are using it to log issues with various things they don't like. So we do keep that as a sort of litmus test. And obviously, if there's game-breaking stuff, we look at that as well. So I kind of think that answers the question as best I can.
Okay. Shan.
Yeah, I just want to ask a couple of questions on that to ask, just to kind of get it clear in my head. So you said about a lot of the feedback you get is quite emotional and structured, and I guess part of the art of the job is to decode the emotion from the fact. I must admit, I haven't read every single forum post because I think I'd be here all year. But is there a way you could like provide a template or an exemplar? You could say this is an example of the exact sort of feedback we like, so that maybe people can read it and structure it a bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, that's good feedback. I think we do try and do it like we say, like keep it short and concise, provide examples if possible, and stuff. Particularly like with the performance stuff, which I know you're going to ask me about later on. You know, we did lay out a template for people and say, look, these are the files we need specifically, so we can look at this sort of stuff. Because it's just that when we have that sort of, if we know how we want it, then we'll definitely say, because obviously it makes most sense. But it's good for if we're not doing that well enough, then that's something we can go back and I'm not saying that you're saying we are. It's one of the things that I'm never going to say we've got it right first time.
Yeah, I mean, my other question, I think it's in the show notes, and there's a link in there. But I saw a screenshot of the issue tracker for Flight Sim 2020. And that's regularly updated, and it seemed to be a lot more structured and easy to follow, and the updates were just easy to follow the track through. When I've seen the current issue tracker as it is, it just seems to be a bit confusing to say, well, this is our number 1 issue, this is our number 2, this is number 3.
Yeah.
And so something like that, I think, would be really useful for the community to save you guys keep feeding questions all the time. But
100%. Look, when I first joined, you know, I was sort of getting to grips with behind the scenes and all that sort of good stuff, bad stuff, etc., etc. One of the things that kept coming up is the issue tracker. It's fantastic having a forward-facing, I call it device because it makes it easier, so people can see what's being raised. However, it's not working properly. I think we all know that. I think we've had enough issues with the issue tracker as it is, excuse the pun. So we are actually working very hard with the QA team at the moment to revise some of the stuff, how it's used, how it's displayed, and we're hopefully going to have something to share on that sort of towards the end of June. I don't want to make too many promises on it because it's a fair bit of spaghetti to unravel. But you're absolutely right. It needs to be clearer, and we also need to make sure that it's working as intended, because there's a lot of stuff that the issue tracker currently doesn't do. Which is a pain for all of us because, you know, it doesn't recognize duplicates, it doesn't put them together, so it makes it seem like there's a huge morass of stuff that's just there and it isn't very clear. And you're absolutely right, so it is on my agenda to get fixed.
Okay, Psychic, you've got a question that you're bursting to ask.
Look, I really like lore. You know I like lore. Me and Alf have spoken about lore lots of times. I get stupidly excited. You have mentioned that this 6-part, 6-arc Athamas story goes into 2022. How far into 2022 does it go?
Oh. So what I actually said was about a month and a half, or month and 2 months per act. That's the plan. That's the plan. So I hope it might end. It might end around Christmas. It might end just after Christmas, so January, Feb time. It just depends on what certain things happen. I can't say too much.
No. That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
I don't want to give anyone a scoop because it'll ruin the whole thing. Like, I'm not going to say anything.
How? Just to follow up from that very quickly. How? Much of that is solely based on player agency, or do you have like a do you find that you railroad a little bit too? What's the balance between actually, railroading and player agency is what I'm looking for.
No, in fairness, one of the things, it's a good question, and it's a very hard question to deal with. And I'll just be totally honest, like when you're doing narrative and again, like Elite, it's very, very hard to not sometimes have to sort of railroad things in certain ways. But with this particular storyline, it's built in a certain way, and I don't want to give too much away, but it is about player choice. The whole thing about this is about player choice, and what the players do, and will affect certain things. What they don't do will affect certain things, and it will affect what happens at the end. So that's about as far as I can be in answering that without giving too much away. And I'm not saying which choice is the correct choice, or even if there's a wrong choice. There's just a choice. It's the player's choice, and that's what I wanted players to understand: is to be like, you have the universe presented to you. You can see it. You make a decision based on how you would make that decision as your commander, and you will accept the consequences thereafter. And I'm not going to say those consequences will be good or bad. They will be the consequences. And at the end of it all, my stock answer will be: you had the choice. You made the choice. That's it. That's about as good as I can give it for this one.
That's fine. I think people, because it was such a welcome relief that the CGs and Galnet came back, that I think everybody is just desperate to know, is this going to continue? If we want it to continue, I think that's the main.
Yeah, I mean, it was no joke. Literally this morning, I was having a chat with Lawrence, who does all of our sort of specific story stuff, and I was like, look, we are only Act 2, just about to go into it, but I know how fast time flies, and the stuff we want to get involved for the next stuff. I mean, this is just literally. I mean, this is I'm really excited for this story. I take none of that away, but this is really our first one. And I'm like, all I want to do is building it. And we had our first sort of tentative question meetings this morning about like, this is what because I know what happens at the end, obviously. So I'm like, I want to have this option. I think this would be a really cool thing. And the answer we got was, yeah, that's actually a really cool idea. Let's start getting some structure in for where we want to go next. So it isn't just going to. So this storyline, as in the Azimuth saga, might end, but the stories will not.
Bentley, do you get yourself into a bit of a power trip because you're basically a god in charge of the galaxy here?
I think my gifts gives you all the answers you need to know about that.
Arthur's not the god of the galaxy. We all know that is Kay. She created the galaxy.
Yeah, in fairness, I can't press a button and change everything. But I do enjoy. I'd said it before. It's like being a DM with, like, I think last time I checked, there's like 70,000 players sort of passing through each day. So having that as your and a one-to-one scale galaxy is a fantastic playmat. Obviously, there's things you're kind of limited to do, and I can't just go free range and just decide I'm going to introduce this loads of stuff. It does have the big stuff has to go up to the very top. But I do have I would be lying if I said I didn't get a perverse thrill out of it.
Real perverse power trip, right, Jan?
Yeah, I was like, the question I got to ask one of them was, there was a phrase in the roadmap that got memed quite a lot. So what specifically does many fixes mean? Does
a
it
word that will brought me to the end of my days.
Yeah, I mean, does it include, obviously performance fixes, etc., or does it include things like balance passes, engineering changes, handheld weapon balance? All basically, is it just fixing stuff that's broken, or does
no? It is everything. It is everything. I mean, I said it on stream. The reason why we wrote it that way, and this is a genuine, as I said before, like I'm very keen to pull back the veil, and you have to understand that it's not, and it isn't a frontier thing. I know people because they see other companies, but there is a general fear in the entire industry of like, you show too much and people just will pillar you for it regardless. So I'm trying, and we are trying to pull back the curtain a bit more. But the honest answer is the reason it's written many fixes and improvements, and there was a long argument about even putting that line in there, just because it was like, we will get one or two responses here. It looks, if we just leave the two headings, people are going to think we're just fixing two things. And it was generally a case of like, well, we'll put it in because each update will have like 180 plus, I would imagine, on average, changes. And it does include balance passes and stuff like that. They make much slight adjustments. It's a bit of everything that goes into it. And the reason we don't publish exactly what's going in is, as I said on stream, they don't know until literally the day before, like, right, this is ready to go. It's been tested fully and it's going to be in. And for us to put out a roadmap that says, here's the 100, whatever it be, I don't know, what's that, 3 times 180? Let's just do it at 600, say, there's 600 changes, because some of it may not make it, some of it might not work, and some of it might work until it goes in and then just for whatever reason doesn't work, which we had before. I think it was update 2 or 1, there was an exploit with fleet carrier infantry, which I know people are well aware of. and we thought we'd fix that 3 times, and it just didn't. It didn't take for whatever reason, and it's just one of them things. That's why we put out the patch notes when we do, but we put in the line. Love us or hate us for it, and I guess then the feeling is hate, but we put it in there because there's just a lot of stuff that goes in. It's more to give an example of like these updates are not just going to be the 2 sort of headline things we've put in that week. There will be a lot of other things that goes in each week, including performances and other bits and bobs.
Yeah, it's a bit of feedback to that from an outsider looking in. I would suggest that that statement was counterproductive for you guys, and that if, as and when you do more roadmaps, which we hope you will, if there's stuff you can say, just give examples. Just let us know the scope of it, even if you can't, say anything, because it comes across as, oh crumbs, they said they'd be out on the 4th. We quickly better write this back on the back of a flag packet and put it out. I'm sure that's not what happened, but that's just how it came across with the vague sort of statement.
Yeah, look, I'll be totally honest. We wanted to get the out on the 4th because we said we'd get out on the 4th. And we were like, look, if we're going to change the way we communicate, we have to stick to what we've just said. So it was a case of, right, well, then let's get it out. And there was a genuine fear, and this is me being 100% honest, of like, well, we just put out the headlines, people are going to think we're doing nothing. When in reality, the scope of work is so vastly different to that we didn't want that to come across. And yeah, it's a poor choice of wording, and it hasn't worked out well for us. But I'm one of these people, like, I'm not going to sit here and argue that and say, like, you're wrong or the community's wrong. You're absolutely right to call us out on it. It's something we'll get better at. But I'm very much like, right, cool. I'll bank that feedback, and I'm going to move forward and be like, right, next time we'll get it better. Probably won't get it right next time. Let's be honest, but we'll try.
Okay, Ben?
Just thinking, I mean, most of us are developers here, and the elite community is all very techie in nature. You're saying that obviously there's 180 odd things in there, and it was a very in-depth process of getting those not patch notes, that roadmap ready. Can you maybe go into a little bit more detail as to what was in there that then had to get condensed down without going into
I
all the minutiae?
I don't really understand the question, if I'm being totally honest. In terms of what did we take out of the roadmap, or?
I guess what I'm meaning is, I've got this idea in mind that you've got Jira for all your tasks that you're managing, and you've got 180 things in there, and then you go off and you assign, right, this is going to take 5 days, this will take 3 days, this will take a week, and all that agile software development stuff that is done. Then it all gets estimated, then it all gets assigned, and there's a shitload of work going into basically determining what's going to be done in the next sprint. And then I know from my own experience that then we say, okay, what can we have released by Thursday? What can we have released next Thursday? Next Thursday. This is what I'm kind of picturing went on in Frontier Towers. Well,
yeah, I mean, in fairness, that's pretty much how the dev would. I mean, I'm not going to speak for dev. Obviously, my job is to communicate out what comes to us. So just to be full cards on the table. But so 100%. I guess how I had the roadmap written out originally would have just had the headings. It was just a heading. I didn't have many fixes and whatever's put in, because a lot of the stuff will come under those 2 headings. But there was so much stuff that they were just like, it just feels like it's light. What I can certainly do is go back and be like, cool, let me speak to I'm already having this conversation, by the way. Let me speak to Dev and be like, how early can we release what you guys are looking to put into update? What are we on? 3 is Thursday. 4.
Yeah, 3 Thursday.
Yeah. So what else can we put in? When can we update what's in 4? And this is fair feedback for us. So I'm like, cool, let's go do that. But there is that fear of, and they are generally terrified, and you have to understand this. And this is me being, and I'm also I can empathize with them. They don't want to say, hey, look, we're going to fix this thing or we're going to add this thing in 4, and it doesn't make it, because we are so keenly and acutely aware that when thing goes wrong at the moment, there's a huge amount of negativity that gets washed towards us, which is fair, and I understand that. But that's, I guess, adds a little bit of caution to be like, look, we only really release it when we know it's definitely, this stuff is definitely in and definitely working. And even then, as I said, some things still slip through the net. But it's fair feedback and stuff. I'll go back and say, look, let's try it. If we get burnt, we've learned.
you get bird collar,
Like the dinner. Like the dinner.
Just don't.
Yeah,
Just don't. I've just been glared at for someone eating almost burnt chicken.
At least they know it's cooked.
Good.
Come on.
Hey. Oh, don't talk to me about burnt chicken. I managed to get some lovely butcher's chicken and then forget about it for about 4 hours.
I just got a
I
quick.
was not happy.
Yeah, quickly, Shan, before we start discussing chicken cooking.
Yeah, not roast alpaca. Yeah. Oh, sorry. A quick follow-up question on the roadmap. So you've given a roadmap for basically the next till the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an intention to deliver a longer roadmap, maybe like was produced for Beyond or Horizons? Because I think one of the things I'm picking up when people talk to me is they understand there's issues now, but they almost want to know there's jam tomorrow with some of the features and some of the things that
Yeah. I mean,
want.
I think yes. No, look. So I think again, it is written in there in terms of like in that roadmap afterwards, in terms of like we will discuss new features that will be added to Odyssey, because there are new features that will be added to Odyssey in between. So like towards the next big. So I guess when it's console, it comes out. So with console and then beyond, there are more stuff to come in. That's being worked on right now in terms of how we're going to deliver that and how we're going to display that to everyone. Which is why I've said and the one thing I'm very keen on, and I'll be very honest about this, is I don't want to knee-jerk to everything. So when someone says, you need to do this, and then we come up tomorrow and we say something, I'm like, it's cool, I get people are pissed, but I'd rather wait until the end of June, get the information so we're very clear and internally are very clear on what we're delivering and when, and then I can speak with confidence and allow my team to speak with confidence about what's coming. So that's why I've said, look, give us the end of June, let's assess everything, like the issues which I know have come up a lot, performance, pantry tech, etc. We need that time to go through all those files, look at what's been fixed, look at how things are running, to assess like when and where that can be addressed. And then also, that's why I've said every single month there'll be a developer, and I haven't got a name for it, but a developer show where they'll come on, we discuss what's going on, and we discuss potential sort of roadmap milestones, as it were, which is in terms of like how we get on with development, how's console coming along, what features can we expect, how many features are we going to be adding, all that sort of stuff. I would like to give these answers out. And even if we say it'll be 4 features, show one of them and keep 3 back as a surprise, then I'd rather do that. I'd rather, as I said before, I'd rather be confirmed and tell people the answer than just say nothing.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, end of June, there will be like, this is what's coming at the end of June. We'll have an update for you on everything, but please allow us this time to get to the end of June so we can at least get all this in order and be like, right, we know when we can say what, how, when, and where we are development-wise with what we've got to address.
Yeah, I'll be kind and won't pin you down for dates, and like at work, which of course I'll be on your case for dates.
Well, it's end of June. We've said end of June, so I like.
No, I was thinking for the longer roadmap, because I think as long as we know there's something coming, that gives us something to look forward to. I think that
I can hand on my heart tell you there is stuff coming. And I don't mean like fixes and stuff. I can tell you there are features coming. But I need to, this, in the spirit of being honest, which I said that we would be, our priority right at this moment is making sure that Elite Dangerous Odyssey works as intended, and then we get the console version out for our console players. That is the focus, to make sure that our players, our community, have the game. So that's the honest answer, right? But there are features that will come.
Yeah, I think speaking for some members of the community, there was concern that 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 was going to be it. I think that the fact that you've reassured a few people that there is more in the pipeline is
yeah, 100%. I'm a gamer as well, right? And it take Elite out of the equation. The first thing I do when I get a game is I'm like, this is fantastic. You get 10 minutes of like, right, cool, great, fantastic. And the very next question is, what's next? And that's absolutely fair, right? But at the moment, we're like, let's make sure our first step is stable and ready to go on, and then we'll start adding in the stuff that we have planned. And there is stuff planned.
It's always one of these things with an online game that people get concerned if all of a sudden the content seems to go quiet in the future. But it's something that I guess all MMOs have to deal with. Incidentally, because Elite is iconic and has inspired so many people to become developers themselves, do you find it as a CM team, do you find it more of a challenge to deal with how shall I put it, more developer-minded people instead of, say, people on Fortnite?
That's a very diplomatic question. Not necessarily to me, but to the Fortnite community. I will say yes and no. So I'd say to a degree, yes, it's easier because there's a degree of understanding that comes with having developers. But I'd also say sometimes it's a lot harder because Elite is such an animal behind the scenes that it's very easy. And I don't mean this in any way it's derogatory to anybody that is developing even tools for Elite. And I don't want this to come across this way, but it's very easy to say this is how it should work when behind the scenes it's an entirely different animal trying to merge what they're trying to do and what they have done. So some ways it's very hard, and I'm not a dev, right? So me trying to have that, you've seen me on streams, right? I struggle with the real techie stuff. So I'm just like, look, I can tell you how I see it in layman's terms, but I can't tell you in a dev term. So some ways it's easier, and sometimes it's harder because dev stuff will ask me dev questions, and I know we've exchanged stuff on Discord when you're asking me for files and stuff. And I'm like, just imagine I have no idea what you're talking about, and let me go and ask someone else the other end who does. So in that respect, it can be quite challenging for me. But in other respects, we do get the good grace for you guys to not only have understanding, but also offer very useful and sage advice.
Excellent. Now, you did cover this in the stream earlier today, but there was mention about some of the discrepancies about the planetary geometry and lighting.
Mm-hmm.
The main question was that a lot of people seem to be upset that they can't find planets with the huge canyons like Pamesh 2C.
Mm-hmm.
But you did mention that they are in the game, we just haven't found them yet.
Well, I've seen members of the community share canyons and stuff with me, and all this sort of good stuff that people are asking to see. So I'm only going on what I'm seeing myself. I haven't specifically hunted them out, and this is me being entirely honest, but I can't deny the pictures I'm being shown. So I'm acutely aware that the first thing everyone's done with Odyssey is go to their favorite planet, and they've gone, okay, I'm going to go here, check this out, see what it looks like now, and it's changed because every planet has changed with Odyssey. And so I do believe they exist. Kay came on stream and was like, look, the Stellar Forge is working sort of over time, and these planets are more based around their mass and their gravity, etc., etc., etc. I'm not a dev, so I can't tell you like that is exactly as it's intended. I do know there are a list of things that are compounding it, as in there are bugs and errors that are making these planets look far worse than what they should look like. And hopefully we'll get those fully ironed out before update 5 comes in later on in June. But again, it's one of those things where if at the end of it all, we sit down and we go like, right, we've done all we can do. We've got it in. It is working as it is. But and again, forgive me, I'm talking layman's terms when I do this. But if we look at the end of this and we say, right, we've got it all in. This is how we think it's working. We will look and we will see how the community react to all the planets that people find in Odyssey. Now, I wanted to stress here, I'm not ignoring people saying they can't find these planets, or I'm not saying like they're wrong. What I'm saying is it's been 2 weeks and 2 days since Odyssey's come out. So give it some time. And if at the end of that we think, no, this just isn't good enough, we need to get this better, then potentially we could look at redoing all the geometry stuff, potentially. But that is no way an easy thing. And this is what going back to my previous question, when players say, oh, just push the button, it doesn't work that way. You can't just go in there and redo the galaxy. I know I joke about it on stream with Kay pressing his big red button, but it really isn't as easy as that. I would just say we're looking at it, we're investigating what players are finding, and if it turns out to be this huge issue, then of course we'll address it.
Yeah, Ben.
So I've actually just been given some breaking news by a certain Black Ant, who is sharing with me a lovely image of Snoofy, maybe, L0-K C24-1, which is a beautiful looking Odyssey planet with loads of canyons and things like that.
Cool.
Which was sent to Obsidian Ant by Commander Eor Torur, I think it is. And I've also gotten some other images which we're going to be bringing up in probably the community corner or something, of another whole load of absolutely gorgeous images which you can obviously see in the chatty room off, and Chris can maybe share on stream. Sorry for asking this of you live, Chris. But swinging towards the idea of there is beauty out there to be found.
Yeah, I think it's a fair comment, and I do think it's one of the things we didn't stress enough, which comes down to poor communication on our part. It's just explaining that when that button was pressed, just the impact that would have. And I don't think we stressed that. Now, I know we said it, but they're saying it and saying it, right? And I don't think we said it enough when we were like, look, this is what happened when the planets will change. It was more like it was a response to a question. And that's poor form, and I take it on the chin. I'm not going to make excuses because people aren't here for excuses. It's just accepting and moving on. But I would argue that there are some incredible vistas out there, some amazing and exciting sort of landscapes, some of which are fantastic, and some of which are blighted by some horrible issues that we're working our way through and fixing, like sort of, loading of textures, which we need to get fixed.
Take a drink.
Say again, sorry, mate.
Take a drink off.
No, do you know what? I'm drinking too much. Not alcohol. It's just I'm someone's having to hydrate, and I keep drinking, and now I've got the burps, which is awful. No one wants to hear that.
Hydrate. You have to hydrate.
Must keep drinking, then I just start burping.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben. I was going to ask the system you read out. How far away is that from the bubble?
I have absolutely no idea. Let me find out. Hang on. I'll have to.
Exactly 7.
Well, the question that brings is, we don't deny there are amazing planets out there, but if they're all 25,000 light years away, they're not going to be a good community place for.
No, I mean, I know the. So I
it's
know the stuff that I was talking.
Light years from Sol.
Oh, thanks, Psychic.
Right.
I know the stuff that Commander. I've lost his name now. Commander. Temelane, maybe, sent me. He found a whole load of stuff in the bubble, out the bubble, around the ladies' chambers. He's found loads of things. We just need to go and find them again.
And again, I'd take the point, like if all of it's miles and miles away, but I will take an educated guess and say it won't be. It's a simulation, so there will be stuff within the bubble. We just haven't found it. But again, I'll also go back and say, like, I kind of expected this because I did it. I went to planets and was like, I went to the planets we were using for the mission playthrough trailer, because I watched that planet change like 3-4 times. So I went back to that and I was like, it's even different, and the installations moved to a better location, etc. So I knew that players would go out and go to their favorite planets. But it's just one of them things. I'm hoping that as time goes on in the next few weeks, we'll find more and more of these. And I think it would be important for us to maybe, from a community standpoint, showcase, if people have them, showcase them to us and put them out there.
Yeah. I know this planet that I'm just on just now, which is just where I was playing with my brother-in-law the other day. And, there's some nice looking mountain ranges and things like that. And, I've got some mountains and craters and stuff like that. I mean, it's not the flat as a pancake as some people would have you believe.
No, like I say,
that was weird. Sorry, I'm just when the stream eventually catches up, I was like, beautiful sunlight over the top of the mountain, and then it suddenly just went pitch black.
Well,
yeah. I think you did mention lighting issues.
Yeah, you can take your finger off the darkness button now, Alf.
Okay, all right. I only say that for Crispy when he's on.
Okay, thank you.
That was just a break all of Crispy's internet button that you were using. But there was a lot of talk and a lot of excited noises made around the sphere of combat.
Mm-hmm.
While yes, there is merit to driving into a base with an SRV and mowing everybody down, you don't really see set pieces where there is ONFA and SRV and ship combat all happening around the same time. Is that something that is planned for the future, or something that's going to be re-looked at, like fully implementing a sphere of combat into conflict zones, things along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, that's good feedback. I mean, I think we were expecting players to sort of do it naturally. What I will say is we're surprised about how many people have just foregone taking ships to conflict zones and have just taken the dropship, which seems to be like the preferred choice. But that said, we are looking at it, and one of the things we do want players to explore is this sort of menagerie of on foot SRV and ship combat, and how it all pans out together. So yeah, it's fair. It's stuff maybe we can look at with missions going forward that are a bit more specific.
I think also you said it yourself. The predominant amount of Elite Dangerous players playing solo, which is evidently why teams is being left right towards the end, making sure that those team missions are implemented. At the moment, all of, like in conflict zones specifically, for example, all of the NPCs are on foot. If we had a couple of NPCs in an SRV ready to try and mow you down, then it might be impetus for even the solo players to get into their SRV, to get into their ships, to do a bit of conflict around it. I don't know, a little bit more dynamic NPC work.
Yeah, no, that's great feedback. It's something I will speak to Gareth about in particular. I think at the moment that it was just a case of seeing how they pan out. In the interest of transparency, there was an issue with conflict zones only until last week where they weren't working as intended, in terms of just like they weren't turning over to the right faction when they should have been, etc., etc. But I fully take that on board, and I agree. I think it would be a great idea to see some NPCs driving around in SRVs or with fighters in the air.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, Shan, you've got a quick question about foot weapons versus ships.
Yes, I was going to ask, when we talk about balance, is that on the list for balance passing? Because my kind of head goes tilt when I see the figures of a on foot weapon having the same penetrative ability as a class 1 railgun in a ship.
Yeah,
it's something in my mind that goes, hang on a minute, how could that? And it kind of breaks everything in my head. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where I'll be totally honest, because that's what I've agreed I'm going to be. And in fairness, I'd have said this regardless. But in terms of balancing, that's stuff we can easily tweak behind the scenes and doesn't require sort of updates and such to do. So it will be constantly looked at, and to a point where you'll probably see us put out a forum post on it and just be like, what's working, what isn't working. As an example, I found a gun which I believe is game breaking. So I'm just like, I'm running around with it and abusing it, but I don't think it should be in the game. So yeah, it certainly needs to be looked at.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of the explorers are concerned about is that they found it a lot more difficult to find the old geological features in Odyssey. The heat map or the blue map does seem to have difficulty, helping pin it down. I'm wondering, are those kind of mechanics on the list to be looked at?
Yeah, I mean, we had issues with the heat map and stuff in the alphas. I'm sure you know, with the giant green planets when you were scanned. So if it's not working correctly, I'll be honest. When I saw this question earlier on, and I actually raised it with the team as a whole. So are we seeing much of this? And is it something we need to be raising? So they're going to do some digging for me. But if players are struggling to discover things that are, the heat map is designed for, maybe it's some tweaks to the heat map to make it a bit more specific.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We've actually gone through most of the questions that we've got. There is a concern because I don't know whether or not you found this, but there was a perception when the Xbox version was released that the PC version was downgraded to match the Xbox. Now, I'm hesitant to even ask this, but
ask the question. It's fine. You're going to ask me, will we see the same thing again for? So my honest answer is I don't know. If I don't have the answer to it, so I don't know the answer. I know that we have to make Elite Dangerous Odyssey work on Xbox One and PS4s, because that's, I think, I'm not sure if it's a legal requirement. I don't want to say it's a legal thing, but it's DLC for the game that's already on their system. What do I think it's going to look as good as it runs on a high-end PC? No, I don't. That's me being 100% honest, because I just don't think the Xbox One or the PS4 has that tech. That's me being 100% honest, but I'm not a dev, and I don't know what magic they're gonna pull into it, because we've got to reach that first milestone, which is why I wanted to push so hard for these monthly updates with dev on how development's going, not just on PC Odyssey but also console. But I don't know. I don't. We certainly do not want to compromise. If we don't have to, they won't. But I'm just being, I'm sure the same way I'm thinking everybody else is thinking, that if they can make it work on an Xbox One, fantastic. That means great news for everybody. But I don't think they're going to want to compromise sort of the graphical fidelity. No.
Okay. Shan, quickly.
Yeah, I was going to ask because one of the things that surprised me when I logged on to one of my commanders, which is 20 odd thousand light years from Beagle Point, was I didn't actually have what we call the Dyson scanner with me. And so I was wondering, and what it entailed is I had to then make a significant detour to pick one up just so I could continue on. Is there any idea, suggestion to say include that in the flight suit? So if you're out in the black, because there are explorers who haven't returned home for 18 months, 2 years or more, and you're kind of making them turn back so they can continue on. So having something on their flight suit, I think, would enable them to carry on their exploration without the time consuming of coming back, finding a suit, etc., etc.
Yeah, no, look, we get asked this a lot by our explorers, and it's something we are looking at. There's two things about Elite. One, you don't want to break the fourth wall and just start dishing out explorer suits just willy-nilly, and everyone suddenly's got one. But there is something that needs to be answered. So we are looking at that at the moment, how we go about doing it. I don't know what the answer is yet, but it is something we want to address. So please allow us the most, let us find the way to do it as delicately as possible, so we can not force people that are on exploration missions for years and years and years to go out there. Or if we can't, what we can do for them on their return.
Yeah, precedent for that. When Horizons was launched, the ship landing module suddenly appeared in people's ships without.
Yeah. No, you're right. It was a precedent, but it's not. I want to say it's delicately, and I'll just say honestly, it's not as inherently as it was for. This is directly linked to a gameplay loop in specifics of retaining data and bringing it back. But I get what you're saying. It's not that we can't do it. So we are looking at it. I guess is the answer.
Ben, do you want to? Oh no, sorry, Psykit. Do you want to go first quickly?
Yeah. On the back of that, a lot of those explorers who haven't been able to get their scans out in the black have expressed interest in having a smaller concourse on a fleet carrier, like with all the DSSA fleet carriers. Is that something that might be considered in the future?
It is something that might be considered in the future, yes.
Excellent, thank you.
And I think Psykit's leading on almost exactly to where I was going to say, with just as an idea, what would seem an obvious idea would be with the DSSA. How about we have things like Vista Genomics and Ad Astra on fleet carriers?
Yep. I think it's a great idea. Yeah. I think it's a great idea, and it's something we're looking at. So, I'm again in spirit of being honest. And again, I don't want to. Here's the other. This is me being, open and closed doors, right? Sometimes you don't want to say anything because you don't want to give anything away, right? You don't want to say, "Oh, we're definitely going to do this thing," and then people go, "Oh, they're going to do it. They're going to do it," and then we don't do it for whatever reason. Like we can't make it work for whatever reason. And then people are like, "Oh, you lied to us." Da, 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 da. But I'm telling you now, we're looking at it. So I'm telling you now, 100% we're looking at it.
Right. Well, there is one thing that that did happen with the stream today. With your honesty, when you confirmed that that there were no current plans for ship interiors, it's kind of caused a bit of a meltdown, especially on Reddit. I just wondered. I mean, is that definite none at all, or is that in the far future?
So here's the thing, right? I'll be hung either way here. I can say like,
I
oh, we
know,
might look at this in the far future, and it just sounds like, oh yeah, same old FDev doing this, doing that. I will be honest and tell you, at the moment there are no plans for full ship interiors. That's a fact. And I think I expressed this on one of the streams before as to why they weren't going to be going in, and we did put it in the forum post. And it simply is, at the moment, it doesn't add enough value to the gameplay loops. That is what is the belief behind the development team, i.e., that the complexity around add this in, and it's not just adding in a ship interior like are in other games. It's then when you go in and you add a ship interior and you have all the various modules laid out in different locations, how it's going to look, and then be able to walk around them. And then it's the well, then I've landed at base, I'm under attack, and I want to get away, but it's taking me 30 seconds to run to the top of my Anaconda because this is now a one-to-one scale of my ship, and I've got to go for every single door, etc., etc. And I've been blown up, and this isn't fun anymore. Or I'm now bored because I just want to get on my ship and I'm sick and tired because I went to land, get out. It's great to have, and I can see it from both sides. I love the immersion stuff. I'm all over it, and I think it's fantastic. But I also look at it from the other point of view. If this doesn't add anything, it's going to get boring very quickly for people after that first 10, 15 times. If you're in a big ship and it takes you 30, 40 seconds to get through your ship to get off a planet, and then to get off your planet to go into a station when you might drop something off, it will become tiresome because it's not a lift where you're just going in and you haven't got to do anything. You're actually going to have to run around and do stuff. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. It's not necessarily FDevs, but at the moment it doesn't add any value. They can't see the value added into a gameplay loop. If that changes, perhaps they'll go back and relook at it. But at the moment there are no more plans. That's me being honest. I said before on the stream, it may not be the answer people want to have, but I'm a big fan of. I'd rather give you the answer than say nothing.
Yeah. Ben.
Right. Probably two things. One, have you ever played Pulsar, Pulsar Lost Colony?
I have not.
Right. That is a game where you are basically 5 people crewing a starship, and there's people of you. It's a and you're running around fixing components, doing all that stuff, and it is probably one of the most hectic and immersive and brilliant games. Crewing, where you're all doing your own jobs, a bit like what we could have done with multi-crew, but didn't. And there's just so much potential that game can.
No, look, I'm not gonna. A dev will give you a better answer to this than I will, right? And I'm not gonna. I don't want to sound like I'm being confrontational because I see people in chat going, you're not listening, and we all want ship interiors. You're just not listening to us. Let's be frank about this. What you're asking for is a fundamental change to the game.
Oh, gotcha.
So you're asking for us to create these giant customizable units of space to be multi-crewed, to then fly through in the speed of time that we're doing with Odyssey on a one-to-one scale of the galaxy. It's not a small task to take. And when you have a look at all the other stuff we could have added in, I guess that's the decision they made at those early doors. So people just saying, "I'll just do ship interiors." It's not a just do ship interiors, right? You don't just go around and go, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to model every type of ship interior to its scale." And these ships are huge in comparison to. I think players realised that when we started showing Odyssey off, sort of in the alpha, and people stood next to Corvettes, etc., etc. You want to model that Corvette on a one-to-one scale, walk around it, and then you're going to ask for various functions to be taking place within that Corvette whilst you're flying, and it's all customizable to the modules you set in it. And then if, say, you have passenger cabins and you have your passengers in there, the next question is going to be, I want to see the passengers, and then I want to interact with my passengers, and then you're into a whole different game. And at what point do you stop? Because there's a point of where we're trying to get to, which is it's a sim, and we want it to be enjoyable. Now, again, this is me speaking as Arthur, not as FDev. It's my own rationale I've put behind this. Again, I would love to see ship interiors, but I do appreciate you're asking for a significant step change shift in what the game's actually doing. And that's the question is, once you go down that road, at what point do you stop? Some games are down that road and they're not stopping. They haven't stopped.
Yeah.
So that's my God honest answer to that one.
Shan, have you got something similar to ask?
Well, I was going to sort of ask the question and sort of poke a bit at Arth's answer, if that's okay. One of the things you said, Arth, about ship interiors was people would get bored going up and down ladders and stuff like that. Well, I would suggest maybe some will, but then people fly to an orbital for an hour and a half looking at a screen and don't get bored. And I
But
think
that's a journey, right? That's a journey you're making to Hutton Orbital. You're not just dropping off some mats, or you're not just going in and picking up a mission and going back again.
what I was going to add was I completely get the gameplay loop rationale. And for me, that assumption that the gameplay loop rationale is all there is isn't maybe all there is. One of the analogies we use on the show is when you get a toy as a kid, you play with the toy, but the cardboard box is much more fun. The cardboard box is just a cardboard box, but for you, it's a spaceship, it's a fort, it's a whatever it is. And what I believe the added value of ship interiors would be is it gives players a cardboard box that then extends their time in the game. And there's a financial aspect as well, as Ben pointed out the other week, of arcs for I don't know posters of things and all sorts of stuff
You
around
know
that.
you want your Ashling Duval bed sheet.
But you can see what I mean. It's not just a gameplay loop.
I fully appreciate that. I'm not. As I said at the start, I'm just here giving you the answer that I have, and everyone will shout at me and tell me that I'm wrong. But I'm giving you the answer that you will ask for. You asked me to give you the honest answer of where FDev is at the moment with ship interiors, and they're not being looked at the moment. That is the answer, and I'm like, I will take the feedback and I will pass it on. But there's very little I, as a community manager, can do to build a ship interior for people. I can try and relay the message as best I can. I have done that, I think, as best I can do right now. But if everyone's saying they want ship interiors, they won't play Elite unless they're ship interiors, then I'll pass that message back. But there's I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where Elite, I want to know where players will want this to. We want to push this forward as far as we can go, right? And if players are saying ship interiors is an absolute must, or it's going to break everything within the game, then obviously we'll assess it. But at the moment, it's a case of where do we put our resources at the moment, and at the moment it's not ship interiors.
Yeah, I mean, I think sorry, I just want to quickly jump in. Thanks for the answer, Arthur, the candid answer. I think that is appreciated. I think my feedback going forward is more to the game than game mechanics. There's that kind of softer role play, call it what you like, aspect as well, but I think should maybe be considered. Sorry, Colin.
Right. On a lighter note, one for the feedback loop, I suppose. We've had from Stephen Usher that they'd like a feature request to be able to kick and pick things up so that they can have 5-a-side football matches on moons.
I'd love to see something like that. I saw the Guardian football stuff going on with relics, with SRVs and stuff. So yeah, I'll be keen to see that.
Yes, of course, nothing to do with the Euros coming up at all. No. And I do believe, apart from this one question, we have one bonus question from our Alan Strader, old station commander. He says, I'm a lapsed player who hasn't been in the game for some time. Now that there's new content released, what would you say are the things I can look forward to when I return to playing Elite this summer? Bearing in mind, this is a guy who took 3 months to get his SRV out of a base.
Out of a base? How come?
He just got stuck.
Oh, okay.
We had to basically prize him out. It was amusing.
Okay. I think there's plenty to look forward to, and not just with Odyssey. I think that there's how long has he been away? Do we know? Is it just 3 months he's been away, or has he been away longer?
It's I think.
I suspect the last time he played would probably be probably LaveCon 2019.
All right. Well, then there's plenty of stuff to go in there. I mean, obviously, I'll talk about the stuff that's for Odyssey. I mean, it does offer a raft of changes that, in my opinion, are fantastic for players. For new players or players that are struggling with some of the more complex mechanics, you can start on foot. It's a softer entry into Elite Dangerous, in my opinion, because you can just learn the mechanics from the ground up. Excuse the pun. There's a change to exploration, which I actually really enjoy in terms of the detailed surface scanner and the genetic sampling. There's the on-foot combat, which I generally get a kick out of. I will often play the game windowed whilst I'm sat doing some work, and then I'll just take a drop ship to a conflict zone, which for me are my highlights, or I'll do some of the espionage missions and stuff like that. There's a lot to be had with Odyssey in terms of you're coming back and all the stuff you can do outside of the mission structure when people just do their own things, which I do enjoy watching and seeing. But yeah, there's a lot for me to say, but I will just sound like a company stooge just saying it. But I'm just going to say there's tons here for you to come and have a look at.
Excellent. We'll see if that entices him back, because he keeps on saying he comes, but he'll come back one day. No, we've seen the post about Frontier doing a better job in communication, and we've also seen the open letters on the forums and all the stuff that goes with that. I mean, you touched on this on the stream earlier today, but for our listeners, I mean, could you give an example of how the communication is going to go? Is going to proceed going forward?
Well, in fairness, I think if this interview is anything to go by, this is the what what I talk about honest communication. I will tell you how it is. It may not be the questions the answers you want for the questions, but I'll give them as I understand them. I'll try and give the answers as best I can, and I will feedback the communication from community. I understand that talk is cheap, and that is one thing I'll take on all of my chins. But on the flip side of that, I will say that we've set out like once a month we'll have developers on. We'll talk about actual milestones of development of both Odyssey on PC and the console release we build up to it, and then we plan to intend to go on beyond the launch of console as well, and keep that momentum going and be like, right, here's what we want, here's some direct feedback from players to actually talk to the devs. And that's not just to say we'll just do that once a month. We'll probably have like special shows where we get guys to come and talk specifically about a certain thing. So I know the UI guys are keen to come on. I know that some of the people from sound want to come on. I know there are people that want to come in and just discuss certain mechanics of players. So all of that stuff is what's going to be planned to go forward. And again, when we have answers, whether they're the ones you want to hear or you don't want to hear, I'll give them to you, and I'll give you the answer as they stand on that day, date, and time. And if the answer is no, then the answer will be no, because I think a lot of the problems comes with if we say not at this moment. I think, and I'm not shifting any way here. I think some of the previous history of FDev has been not this time means it's definitely going to come tomorrow. And if I can't see that on the roadmap, then I won't say it. I'll just say no. And if it changes, fantastic. To go back to the not prickly subject at all about ship interiors, at the moment in time, the answer is no, because I can't see it anywhere on the roadmap. So if I can, then I might say somewhere down the line. But I think if I was a player, I'd much rather that.
Stop teasing us there, Arf.
I'm not teasing. I'm not teasing you. I'm not teasing you. Listen, look, it's been brought up time and time again. I bring it up all the time. Trust me, it gets mentioned to me on an hourly basis. So it's not like I'm not. I don't talk about it. If I saw something, I would tell you.
Yeah. I mean, as a developer myself, I look at the amount of work that would be needed to put those interiors in, and I'm trying to. On the forums, you're ripping your hair out, saying, "Look, it's going to be an update which would probably be the same size as Odyssey when you take all that stuff into account." But it doesn't.
It would be massive, and that's not me. That's not and that's probably why it's not like Odyssey. Odyssey in itself is huge. I think it's the biggest project they've done outside of Elite. And I'll have to fact check myself on that one, but I'm fairly certain it's very close to it. So then to add in that as well is another huge update. And I guess like some things, and again, you can't just do it half-assed, right? So you want to try and get it right. And I know there's some talk about just doing the cockpit area, which I'm actually a fan of. I think that's a great idea. But again, it's not. I'm not the dev that's got to go and do it and make that all work. So it's all ideas that get floated. It's not being ignored, but it's just a case of what is practical, what's doable, and what's actually going to benefit the game the most. Is the conversation that I had at a level above me.
Right. Psychic, I do believe you've got the final question of the night.
Hi, Arf, or should I say salvation, as he's quite clearly a self-insertion into the game. Are we likely to see salvation anytime soon?
Do you really want me to spoil that for you?
Yes, and also no. But also, is it a self-insertion? Does it feel like a self-insertion?
Well, actually, the character here, their self, was created by the team and I.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of all of us in this character, but we wanted this character to be specific in the way that they are.
Why are they so much of an arsehole then? I really don't like them.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they? Why are they an arsehole? Tell me why they're an arsehole.
Because they're sanctimonious and I just don't like them. They get right on my wick. So can you fix them, please?
I mean, I think they just got an axe to grind. Maybe they've just seen a little bit too much of the galaxy. Maybe they're just trying to do it their way. Maybe they think that enough's enough.
Is this person actually the Elite Dangerous community?
I'm saying this person is a character we have created, and I think that they will offer you choices, and you get to make them.
Forward to seeing them on Thursday. Then thanks, Alf. Bye.
And there is the subtle probing that Psychic has for you.
It's about as size as a brick.
Yeah, wrapped around
Through a window, a flaming brick through a window.
Or a piece of lemon wrapped around a large gold brick, more like. Right. Well, we're out of questions, Zarth. So I'd just like to say thanks for joining us. This has been very, very illuminating, I do believe. Oh, Shan's typing. I'm a bit scared. So I think, or unless Shan has got one more question, which is always scary.
No. Well, when you said we're out of questions, I could talk and ask. I mean, interrogate Alf all night with questions, but we have to let him go to bed.
No. Look, it's one of these things where I understand that people want to just throw questions at me, and I'll give the answers as and when I can. But what I don't want to do is like just keep saying I don't know the answer to that question, because that will just infuriate people even more. So if I can answer a question, I'll answer it, and I get people frustrated. I said it on the stream. I get people who are angry. All I'll say is whenever people give the feedback in the comments, and trust me, I see them all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whenever I see comments that just are, spiteful, I will just ignore them, regardless of how good their point might be. I will just ignore it, because at the end of the day, I look at everything from an adult's perspective, and I get people can disagree, right? And that's the beauty of being an adult. And I can sit there and we can all agree to disagree, and we'll come to an understanding in the end. But when people can't be adult about it, I just ignore it, and I don't care. And I'll be honest, I said it on stream. If you're being rude, spiteful, snide, I just will ignore you, and it's as simple as that. If you want to be heard, let's have a proper discourse. That's what I'm here for. That's my job, is to listen and pass it on. I'm certainly not going to pass on anything that isn't anything other than mature. It doesn't even have to be friendly. You can just, as long as it's just mature. And I mean mature in the adult way. No, that's even worse. I mean mature as in like sensible. Oh my god, I've made it worse.
Yeah, you said
welcome to the Lave
radio
where innuendo rules. So it's right. I guess we can let you go if you need to run away.
I'm going to have a cup of tea and some biscuits, actually, and I'm going to try and get a relatively.
What kind of biscuits? These are the important questions.
Well, actually, my other half, Jen, was baking some biscuits, because our friend Camilla had sent a picture of her making some biscuits, which caused Jen to make some biscuits, which means I win in this scenario. So I'm just going to get different people to send images of baked goods to Jen, and then every night I'll dine out on biscuits and cake.
You know the secret. You know the secret to dealing with other halves made biscuits, don't you? You have a bite of one and you go, oh, that's really nice. I go, I want to eat it all at once, and I'll kind of save it for later. And then you stay up later than she's gone to bed, and then you can just empty the pot in the bin, and then I had one, I just couldn't stop. So wonderful.
In fact, I'm very blessed, actually. I've got a feeling I can smell them. Actually, they smell delicious. So I think I'm going to do all right tonight. So I'm going to go get some biscuits. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. I'm going to put my feet up, and I'll maybe watch a Sopranos episode, because that's what I'm doing in the evenings now.
What a nice bit of mob violence just to wind down.
No, I mean, it's a bit more chill.
I hope the Sopranos isn't the way you run the CM team at Frontier.
Oh, it's 100% how I run Bruce. The rest of the team's fine, but Bruce specifically, he gets the Tony Soprano treatment.
Speaking about the rest of the team, it was delightful to get Sally back.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's so wonderful to have Sally back. She's just a bundle of positivity that just doesn't diminish. So she's fantastic to have, and she's so well organised. And she's just, I've said this before, and I've said it behind closed doors, I am very blessed to have the team that I have to do the job that needs to get done. So I think, someone else put in there, like, if you're going to write if you're going to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk, or you've got to cash the checks. 100% get it, fully understand that, and we intend to. So that's cool. I couldn't ask for a better team to do it.
Yeah, and Zach's a bit of a dark horse. I was watching him on the stream the other day, and yeah, he was doing some damn good keyboard and mouse flying, which in the
the old
matches.
Youngblood. Yeah, he's a silent assassin. You watch him do his the FPS stuff as well. He's all over the show. He's jumping, spinning, shooting. I'm like, okay, but he's a bit tasty, Zach, and he does like, he's got that I don't know what's the word, that
youth.
Yeah, it's really irritating. He's got youth in his eye. So whenever you say it can't be done, he's like, I'll prove you. I'll show it can be done. He's got that. Yeah, so he does that all the time. So I tuned into one of his streams the other day when he was streaming on the weekend, and he was practicing the mail slot challenge, and I was just like, you have got that competitive streak, boyo. And I was like, okay. So whenever we do team games, I think I'm going to pick Zach on my team, so I think he'll be a dark horse.
Yeah, because at least then you know that you're not going to get a missile up the tailpipe.
Oh, yeah, or accidentally run over by Bruce.
Yes.
That would never happen.
Again. Right then, Arth. Again, thank you very much for joining us. And please enjoy your Sopranos biscuit and a cup of tea.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me as well. It's always a pleasure to come on.
It was awesome having you.
Thank you very much. I don't know what happens now. Do I just leave?
What we'll do?
I'm terrible at this. You can go
we'll let
parties.
we'll let Arth run away. While Arth runs away, we will be playing some adverts, and we will come back with other stuff.
We buy any ship,
bar none.
We buy any ship,
bar none. Any model, any colour, any shape, any size.
We buy any ship,
bar none. We here at We Buy Any Ship, bar none are ready to take your excess space travel vehicles off your hands. No more negotiating with dodgy space station vendors. We'll simply give you an estimated quote online. Then, when you get here, we'll point out all the little dents and scratches that make the price get smaller and smaller before we actually give you any money. And the beauty is, we take any ship.
We buy any ship,
bar none. Terms and conditions apply. We Buy Any Ship excludes trading in any of the following vehicles: Adder, Anaconda, Asp, Boa, Cobra, Constrictor, Cruisers, Eagle, Falcon, Gecko, Griffin, Gear, Harris, Harrier, Hawk, Kestrel, Crate, Lanners, Lifters, Lions, Mantis, Merlin, Moray, Osprey, Panther, Puma, Python, Saker, Sidewinder, Skeet, Spar, Stowmaster, Tearsel, Tiger, Transporter, Turner, Viper, Wyvern, or any Imperial or Thargoid vessels.
This is a public service announcement from the Fuel Rats. Please stop what you're doing and pay attention. If we can rescue you, we will, but you can help us help you by following these easy steps. 1. Fly 50 light seconds or so from the system's main star and drop out of supercruise. 2. Note down the current system and the nearest stellar body. 3. If you're on emergency life support, log out immediately. 4. Go to fuelrats.org and click Get Help. 5. Stay calm, hold your breath, and let our seasoned professionals do what they do best. The Fuel Rats. We have fuel, you don't. Any questions?
Are you struggling with paying fines? Do you lose sleep in hyperspace worrying about docking at the next space station? If the answer is yes, then you need to call Cowell & McGrath Fine Management Services.
I got scanned while in Federation space and was caught carrying slaves. It was an unexpected expense that I couldn't afford on top of my fines for damage caused whilst docking.
We can help you consolidate all your existing fines into a single large fine, payable in regular instalments at what is almost a competitive interest rate.
I called Cowell & McGrath Fine Management Services, and they helped me pay my existing fines before I got a bounty on my head. They really saved my life.
At Cowell & McGrath, we've helped thousands of pilots whose fines had spiralled out of control.
I dared not go near a police star system. Got so desperate that I'd almost resigned myself to a life of piracy. Luckily, I found Cowell & McGrath Services before I actually murdered anyone in cold blood.
No fines too big, no criminal record too damning. We're here to help you. No questions asked. Find us in the Lave business directory.
I'd got into debt as a result of a massive counter lawsuit by Watt and Prittney. It happened because I'd taken advice on Python protection insurance from... Wait a minute! It was you!
Cowell and McGrath. Minimum liability, zero accountability. Warning, balances may go up as well as down. Missed payments may lead to repossession of your ship, seizure of
We
cargo, or
hold
the
back
issuing
from
of a
asking
death
after the
warrant.
big question. Panther Clipper.
And welcome back. And one thing that we really need to acknowledge is we have to thank Malik VR for raiding the channel. This is now the highest number of people that we've had. Although as soon as I say that, I've noticed the numbers have just plummeted. But thanks. Hello, all you Malik VR people. Right. Well, let's go through the in-game events which have happened this week. Let's see. The 3rd of July, we had the Tritium mining campaign, which has boosted the Alliance expansion. So that was a very close thing. I think it just scraped originally the first tier for the community goal. And yes, I thought for a moment that was going to be the first community goal that I saw in quite a while, which failed. I mean, I take it no one else was running it.
Quite possibly, literally.
I
mean, I've not been running it because I've basically been having fun running around on planets and doing a bazillion and one other things.
Yeah. On the 3rd of June, also the Core Dynamics engages the Jupiter division in battle. Now, this is quite interesting because the Jupiter division, which was the Jupiter Rochester's personal fiefdom, they seem to have had a resurgence lately. And yes, there's a big fight going on for the soul of the Federation. Well, if the Federation had
the Federation doesn't have a soul.
Yes, well, you know what I mean.
Apparently, Admir was running the CM, but the community goal.
Right. Okay then. We actually had some good news on the 4th of June. Operation Ida is back in business. There was a fix on the 4th of June, and cargo seems to be counted again for the repairs of stations. So work has started on the Betnacourt base in Muscadok Region PJ-P B6-1. So, oh my goodness, that kind of triggers that pattern thing that phobia I've got. I'm just looking at Ben doing his Dyson scanning, and I must admit some of the plants trigger this weird phobia I've got, and that's one of them. I can't look. Oh, I can't pronounce it because it's
the lotus flower one. Is that the one? The many little dots in different places.
Yeah, things like that.
It's not that. This looks like it should be underwater. This thing.
Sea enemy.
Sort of, yeah.
Trypophobia, I think it's called.
That'd be the one. One thing that I have been enjoying actually is my alt that's doing exploring. I haven't come across a duplicate plant yet, and I've stopped off at about 50 planets so far. So I must be doing very well. I don't know whether or not the chat channel has can say that they've come across duplicate plants yet, but
I mean, I've come across things that look the same but maybe have a different name.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm just driving over some grass-like stuff here, and I've seen this on another planet.
So how many
things like it anyway?
Yeah, Ben. So how many variations of fungus have you come across?
I have absolutely no idea. I mean, it's one of these things I don't really care about, to be honest.
I think they only put that one in for the alpha.
I want to try.
I really hope not, actually.
So you want many varieties of bum fungus. So there we are. Chat room, we want you to help Ben find as much bum fungus as possible. Oh, as Crispy notes, Bannercourt has started and finished. They are now onto Coalsack Sector VU-O, B6-6, Coal Point. Thanks, Grimskull44, for that. In other news, also on the 4th of June, the Aegis megaship vanishes into hyperspace. I'm sorry, who
didn't
did
see that
see
coming?
that coming? Obviously, they didn't. So yes, does this mean the Thargoids have taken taken a whole load of Guardian artifacts out of the game, so to speak? According to the AXI, as of the 7th of June, all systems which were under Thargoid attack have now been pacified. So we'd just like to congratulate all bug-smashing commanders who have saved humanity once again, as opposed to all the efforts from Aegis. And finally, on the 7th, a neo-moralist political party has now emerged. There does seem to be an issue with the so-called neo-moralists because they're losing a lot of political power. Their small factions seem to be getting pushed out of the Marlinist systems. Yes, so they're going to try and do some work on that. Now, I think it's time this week, later than normal, as usual, but I think it's time for a store alert.
Store alert!
In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. A store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert. Which one will you buy? A store alert, 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 a store alert. Which one will you buy?
Welcome back, and this week's store alert is the Eagle Acceleration Paint Job. Yes, if your eagle wanted to look like something out of Evel Knievel, this is this is the paint job for you. Guys, does this appeal to you?
If I were using it for some kind of racing, maybe.
I really
If I
like
wanted
it.
to be flashy and stuff like that, yeah.
Is it for the normal eagle? Was it include the Imperial Eagle as well?
No, I think it's just a normal
Normal.
eagle.
Really
Can you
like it.
imagine? Can you imagine an Imperial saying, "Oh, I said, look at what I've done to my Imperial Eagle," and that turns up? That's the equivalent of turning up at Buckingham Palace in a NASCAR.
What's wrong with that?
So, what about its aesthetics do you like, Psycho?
I really like stars. I'm so superficial. I really like stars. It's lovely. I really like it. My eagle currently, the one eagle that I have, it currently have flames on it, and that's really cool as well. It's an old school one, but I really like anything with stars on, and I'm sold already.
The actual shape of the star is nearly identical to that used on Soviet and Russian aircraft. I know it's in blue, but it's the eagle ski.
Yeah. So far, Mindwipe has suggested he can see Captain America flying that.
Yeah.
People have wanted an Imperial Knievel. Now that's the new for the name. The name for the new paint job when the Imperial Eagle gets one. That'll be good. Yeah. So right. I think we'll move on to Community Corner because normally our main discussion this week has definitely been our discussion with ARF. So Ben, you have something to tell us about the competition for the HCS voice packs.
So yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Commander Vanteon joined us with talking about HCS voice packs and various other bits and bats. but we did solicit a number of responses from various commanders, and the prize was. Let me just bring this up. Actually, I should have done this in advance. It was the new pack basically for Odyssey, and I believe it was Brian Blessed shouting in your ear. Vasco, that's the one, isn't it?
Yes, Vasco, definitely.
It's Vasco. Yeah. So we asked a bunch of folks to give us some comments and things like that, and I'll start with the notable mentions. I think actually. So we were asking what the first thing they would do when they got into Odyssey, and under Christian Balloch, I think, or Balloch, he's going to say he's set up his key bindings, and then he's going to go looking for the Xeno bunnies.
Really?
Really? And he gave a lovely little alien and bunny emote in that as well.
I'm sure one of these days that bunny will have something to say about that.
No, that would involve him removing his teeth from someone's throat.
So Commander Mark Jones on Twitter is saying he was parked next to a burning station. Fire! I'm going to disembark, and that's not English. Fire! I'm going to disembark and look inside the burning evacuation area as it asks you to when rescuing people. I think he meant first.
Oh right, so that he means he's going to get out of his ship while
he wants
the
to get out of
station's
his
on
ship.
fire.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I don't think that was allowed. That would have been. I'd have loved that if we could have. You know, this. Okay, Arf, if you're still listening, I sort of apologize for what I'm about to say. You know, when people say they can't think of things to do in gameplay, running around things, can you imagine how awesome we would be running around a concourse and picking up commanders to rescue? Some gameplay for you right there.
I'd rescue them.
Yeah, we know what you do with them though as well. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yes.
Roger Rabbit in. Excuse me. Roger
That's
Rabbit
Roger
being
Rabbit.
a little bit rabid.
Yes, Roger Rabbit.
Okay. Being a little bit of a cheeky answer. He's going to download it.
Well, it's a start.
It is. It's a very good start.
Mhm.
And we have a nice, sensible answer from Thaddeus Vogue again on Twitter. It's a tough one, but he thinks the first thing that he wanted to do when getting into Odyssey was visit Commander Jameson's crash site, and then he wants to pay his respects there before he sets off into the black.
Ah. However, our winner is
Commander Grey Area, again on Twitter here, and he's saying, the first thing I'll be doing is spend a couple of frustrating hours setting up the key bindings for all the new bits, as I'm using a mix of input devices, a hot-ass, an iPad, and an Xbox 360 controller, and they won't be auto-populated.
Yeah.
So, congratulations, Grey Area UK. I'll find you and send you a tweet and send you a message somehow telling you how to get your prize, which I need to get the code from Dave from.
That's excellent news.
Thank you.
Right. So that I'm afraid that's all we've really got for the community corner this week. So I was just going to ask for any other business. Now, is there something that Shan you'd like to get off your off your chest after all that? Have you got response? I mean, do you feel better about the way things are after the discussion with Arf?
I think Arf said the key thing is that the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and
Especially if it's biscuits.
it's been gratifying to hear, you know, seemingly straight answers to questions. And it's not that we don't trust Frontier; it's just that they have I believe, a large mountain to climb to get back. So we just need to wait and see what happens. I think.
Ben, how do you feel about things after the discussion with Arf then?
Largely what Shan said. I mean, yeah, it's true. We'll see how everything pans out. It was lovely speaking to Arth. I think if he's going to say, to be honest, or I'll be honest one more time, I'm going to want to wind up buying a car off him.
I want a quid for every time she says that.
But you want a quid for just being honest. Is that the new drinking game for when Arthur's here?
Well, I think it's a new drinking game
Oh,
on
when he's
stream.
on stream.
Yeah, when he's on stream, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sort of expecting to appear in like a donkey jacket, sort of Arthur Daly kind of approach. And then when he's asked a question, he has to go and talk to the manager in an office somewhere to make sure he can give you the bargain.
You've been dealing with far too many patio salesmen, haven't you? Psychic, I mean, how are you feeling after the? I mean, I know that you had Arth on Flight Assist this week. I mean, are you feeling more confident about what's happening with Odyssey now?
I've got two sort of like takeaways from it. The to be honest or the I'm being honest thing. I don't think, in my opinion, I honestly don't feel like there's ever been a time when Arth has been lying to us in any way. I think he has given us the information that he can when he can, and the fact that he feels like he has to constantly quantify everything that he's saying to be honest, is because there are so many people who just accuse them of lying all the time, and that, in my opinion, is something that has to stop. Secondly,
well, people need to stop accusing him of
lying
lying
all the time. I'm accusing him of lying all the time. 100%. I think he is. I think he has been such a refreshing addition to the Elite Dangerous CMs. And no, I'm not just. I'm saying this because I want to. This isn't lip service or anything along those lines. I honestly feel. Again, I'm saying it. This is how I feel. This is the way that I feel, and that it's not going to change that. I think he has been as honest as he has had the availability to be, and he is an absolute diamond. The other thing that I'm starting to get really pissed off at is the use of people saying, we want this. We referencing I and the whole Elite Dangerous community want this. Yes, you may have spoken to umpteen people in your echo chamber. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are speaking on behalf of the whole Elite community. We've established that a lot of people play in solo. So that kind of thing. Just say I want this or I'm not happy. You're allowed to have ownership on this. The we part of it is really starting to get on my nerves, and that sort of personal preference.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of us can say what did Arth say? There were 70,000 people who were playing this game. None of us can say that we speak for those 70,000 people.
That was actually a surprise. That was the first time we've heard any kind of player numbers.
Yeah, that surprised me as well, actually.
I don't know whether or not he was supposed to say that.
I might have slipped out.
Or is that?
I beg your pardon, Sean?
I was just asking, is that 70,000 on the consecutive, 70,000 at once, or is that 70,000 in a prior period?
That would be my kind of take.
Yeah.
But hey, I wasn't going to draw him on it.
No, because we don't know whether or not we got him into trouble on that. Yes. So, Shan, just quickly.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about the honest bit, and it's a bit of a down, a sad thought, really. But I think it's a shame it's got to the point where the community manager has to emphasise he's being honest to the rest of the community. It's kind of sad it's got to that point, really.
Well, it's also the fact that for most of the problems that we've had with being kept in the dark in previously, Arthur's not been there. And I must admit, since Arthur has come on board, things have seemed to improve as far as communication is concerned. It's just that obviously with what's happened with Odyssey,
I think it's once bitten, twice shy, though, isn't it?
it is, yes. And it's,
by
it is.
the way, people are saying they think it's Orange Sidewinder and Jonathan Tea Time are both thinking it's 70k per day.
Not
I don't know
70K.
if we know that one with. I don't know if we know that one with other, but yeah.
Yeah, but that is actually still good numbers. I would say. Yeah. I'd just like to put in a quick correction here. Psych has informed me that Commander Sirif has just been in contact with who is an AXI mentor. He has told me that there are still 4 systems under incursion. So I may have been a bit more enthusiastic about praising the AXI as I thought. Get killing those bugs, guys. Yes. Right. Well, I think I think that's about it for this episode, unless somebody has got any final things to say.
I would like to bring up that thing that I hinted at from Commander Tamerlane, if that's okay, Colin.
Certainly.
So, right, this is a nice warm fuzzy thing almost to finish up on. So Commander Tamerlane gave some feedback to us on his take on Odyssey and its sort of topography. Right. For me, the topography in Odyssey is overall better compared to that in Horizons. If we disregard the obvious bugs in some of the planet generation tech, for example, the LODs, I think that most of the issues that I see in videos and posts talking about the new planet tech being pure downgrade revolve around the LODs. As for the topography, whilst we might not see so many extremes, for example, 10-kilometer plus deep canyons and 15-kilometer tall mountains anymore, I think that was probably a bit out of proportion in Horizons, since there wasn't nearly enough level of detail in Horizons as we have in Odyssey. So we don't really need those extremes of less plausible formations. All of this if we consider Ultra for Capture setting the golden standard in Odyssey. And I can't run in Ultra, unfortunately, but hopefully when we get things resolved, I can. In Odyssey, some of the mountains look like those in the screenshots that he shared earlier are over 7 kilometers tall. So I don't think that everything is just as flat as some of the streamers mention. Plus, there's a whole other level of detail when it comes down to the terrain in themselves, as well as the surface materials. There are lots of known variable formations due to height maps and blending. The hills, mountain ranges, and canyons get far more complex than they used to with the old Horizons planets, and planets can look quite unique given the circumstances. So yeah, for me, the overall improvement has great potential. If Frontier figures out the bugs in the generation, so that people using regular Ultra or lower settings won't see those ugly leopard patches or disappearing hills as they approach the surface. The new tech has actually made me go out and explore for the view, something that I never had a reason to before. And he's provided a bunch of absolutely glorious photos, which I'm going to rip off and use as desktop backgrounds.
Yeah,
They're lovely.
Well, I have to agree with him for the most part. My exploration commander, who is still heading out, she's still heading out to Colonia and stopping off to scan every biological she can find. I must admit, I have not come across a bad planet yet. I think every single. I mean, I know they're out there, and I know that some people have complained about them, but I'm 2,000. Let's see, 2,000 light years out. A jump every 20. I must have at least visited between 50 to 100 atmospheric planets so far, and they've all been gorgeous. And they've all had different atmospheres. It's not just been the blue skies. I've had some gorgeous greens, some horrible wee yellow ones. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just wish that some people would could discover what I have seen so far, because it has looked beautiful.
Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion.
Yes. Or is that really going to be attack alpacas being on fire off the shoulder of a lion?
Attack alpacas. Well, that's really encouraged people not to go see them now. Your little 5-year-old kids will have like nightmares of these alpacas with fangs getting at them. So, yeah, don't go to
Ah, dear. Right. I think I'll give out the shout-outs then. So, first of all, shout out to our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio, which broadcasts on a Thursday from 8:30. You can tune in at twitch.tv/Hutton Orbital Truckers, or if you just want the audio, go to radio.forthemug.com. For the discerning commander that likes a bit of CQC action, check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. We're also giving shout-outs to the following Elite Dangerous podcasts which have appeared in the last year or so. So hello to Loose Screws and welcome back to Ty. Hello to Elite Week. Psychit, I do believe this was the last flight assist of season 2.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I'm on a break. Yay!
You're on a break. You had quite a lot of people there for the last one.
Yeah, it's the Burr Pit, Crispy Tater Tot, Commander Exegius, and Arthur Tolmie.
Excellent. So find that in your podcaster and stick it in your podcaster and smoke it. Right. For Spanish speakers, we have the Elite Cast. There's also the Canon Podcast, the Fatherhood Podcast, Squeaking Fuel, System Chat, the Guard Frequency, who do other space sims as well, and Allograb AM, an Elite Dangerous podcast. Continuing the podcast theme, for those of you who want a literary discussion about sci-fi and fantasy, please subscribe to the Data Slate podcast as created by Station Commander Alan Stroud. Now, following this, we have the latest Galnet News Digest as provided by Commander Witherspoon and Commander Beetlejude. And we'd just like to thank all those that have chipped in on the Twitch chat and the in-game commanders. Have you had any in-game commanders, Ben?
No, but then again, I've been busy out exploring wherever the heck I am at the moment. I think I've found some pretty pieces just flying around here today. Although I've just tried upping myself to Ultra, and even though it says I'm getting 40 FPS, it does not feel like 40 FPS. I don't know what the heck it's doing.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, it started to behave weirdly for me. I mean, for most of the busy systems lately, I've been running 60 in space and 40 around the planets, and then for some reason in this one particular system, I'm getting 15 when I'm going around the planets, it's just bizarre. We'd also like to send special thanks to Commander Tokuso, who has created the music for the introduction of the show. So that is it for this episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can email info@laveradio.com. Hit us up at laveradio.com. Hit us up at facebook.com/laveradio. Tweet us at laveradio, and you can join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio. We also have a TeamSpeak server where commanders like to hang out and chat, and you can find that at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Word of warning, we do share it with the smelly truckers, but yes, do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 British summertime and streamed out live at laveradio.com/live. So thanks to Shan. Thanks to Ben, thanks to Psychit, and special thanks, of course, go to our tech monkey, the Chris Mark IV, and of course, special thanks goes to Arth for being honest.
Until next time, be equally honest in our appreciation of him, I'm assuming.
Yes. Right. Until next time, commanders, fly safe, and if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Is your
a safe word.
Space Cathedral.
I'm going to see the galaxy.
Ah, damn it. No worries, guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Galnet News Digest, 8th of June 3307. We read the news, so you don't have to. In this week's news, Apex transforms the galaxy.
Down the back of the sofa.
Less terrible than Jupiter.
Galnet Audio enters Trappist era.
Social scientists have noticed a strange new behaviour exhibited by commanders who own the Odyssey walking about permits. On Thursdays in particular, but sometimes on other days too, commanders can be seen flying to out-of-the-way outposts, disembarking, going to pioneer supplies, making a disappointed sound and then returning to their ship. They do this over and over again, apparently in the hope that one day they'll stumble across the Grade 3 Dominator suit with the perfect set of engineered modifications for their needs. Thousands of commanders are exhibiting this strange behaviour. Interestingly, many of them are using Apex interstellar taxis to do the travelling, which certainly takes the strain out of flying to Hutton Orbital and other similar out-of-the-way locations. Apex Interstellar is muscling into ship transfer too. Galactic Logistics has lost the Odyssey contract to Apex Interstellar, as you can see when you transfer one of your ships. And it all works towards an integrated business model, whereby commanders can fly in a taxi ahead of their ships and then get another Apex employee to bring their ship along after. Just think how painless a trade community goal can be, the Apex way. Fill your cutter or Type 9 with whatever goods it is they want, take a taxi to the CG station, transfer your laden ship, supervise the unloading, and then fly back for another load. If it worked reliably, it would be an entirely transformative service. But sometimes your ship arrives and you find it's been space pirated, and the hold is completely empty. Further work is needed before Apex can become the one-stop shop for all your travel and trading needs.
Operation Ida and the other station repair crews are back in business following the mix-up with repair supplies on the 27th of May. All the supplies at all the starports damaged by Thargoids went missing, all at the same time, and there were concerns that they had been lost or stolen, and that the station repair effort had been completely in vain. It turns out that the supplies were there all the time, safe and sound, but they'd been entrusted to the staff at Pioneer Supplies to look after. Pioneer have a huge supply of Grade 3 Maverick, Artemis and Dominator suits, all fully engineered, but the staff are so used to pretending they're completely out of stock whenever you drop by, they instinctively did the same thing when Operation Ida asked about the station repair supplies. Now that the management of the starport repair supplies has been taken away from Pioneer Supplies, we can see that Artemis Lodge has all the supplies it needs to become fully operational on Thursday, with a good possibility that Betancourt Base may also complete its repairs on the same day. Donars Oak, Ark's Faith and Corrigan Terminal are beginning to make progress towards repair. There's a long way to go, but with the accounting systems fully operational once more, it's only a matter of time and effort. With no stations left burning, and no more than a marginal Thargoid presence in the last 4 systems, things are looking good for the puny meatbags. Tharg the Mighty and his 8-legged army have properly been sent packing.
The second core dynamics war to rid the galaxy of the Jupiter division isn't going well. But it doesn't need to go well. It just needs to go better than the Jupiter division side of the war, and in terms of setting low bars, the Jupiter division takes some beating. Galactic support for the corporist takeover of the Federation, the ousting of President Hudson and the release from the darkest dungeon of ex-Core Dynamics CEO Jupiter Rochester is at best meagre, with fewer than 1,000 commanders fighting on behalf of the breakaway division. By comparison, the 3,500 commanders fighting for Core Dynamics in the Federation seems quite respectable. By comparison, the 3,500 commanders fighting for Core Dynamics in the Federation seems quite respectable. The Federal establishment seems likely to reach the minimum level of attainment, which should be just enough to ensure that the Jupiter division is wiped off the face of the galaxy once and for all. The outcome should be known on Thursday.
The Pilots Federation has unilaterally and without notice stopped issuing spoken versions of its Galnet news articles. Known as Galnet Audio, the normal written Galnet articles are read out by celebrity AI newsreader Amy, or at any rate they were, up until the bulletin on Monday the 17th of May, which reported on the campaign trail clashes between the candidates in the Alliance prime ministerial election, when the next bulletin came out on Thursday the 20th, proclaiming the community drives that would determine Alliance policies for the next 6 years. It did so in complete silence. Galnet newsreader Amy admitted that the decision was because of stiff competition in the spoken news category.
It's such a crowded market, with the Burr Pit, Obsidian Ant, Galactic Public Radio and Creek all reporting the news. What need is there for the Pilots Federation's own spoken news bulletins? And of course Galnet News Digest is just so good. They seem to publish almost before the press releases have been issued, and with the Pilots Federation having to translate the articles into Samoan, Ancient Greek and Aztec before they can publish, it's just not a level playing field. If anyone wants me, I'll be in the bar at Jameson Memorial.
And with that, she flounced off. And understandably so. After all, who could possibly sound better reading the Galnet news than me? Oh dear.
And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News, we read the news so you don't have to.